Let's talk about presenting your project plan for approval. You may have the sponsor, some stakeholders in on the meeting. And before we talk about what's good and bad in terms of doing it, let's talk about the objectives, because oftentimes project managers lose sight of the point. It's not just to get approval for something, it's to get approval for a project that is feasible, that has a high probability of success. That's the number one objective. The number two objective is to communicate to the decision makers that any changes to the project plan are going to require compensating changes. In other words, there's no free lunch. They can't just change one dimension of the project plan. Last of all, we'd like to set up the fact that we're going to have a formal change control and status report process is part of the package they're approving. So that's what we want to achieve during the meeting. Now let's talk about what project managers all too often do. Now let's talk about what the common practice is in presenting project plans. Now let's put ourselves in the shoes of that project manager, and he or she has put in a whole lot of work. Along with the team and maybe some of the stakeholders, there's a big investment they've made in this project plan, and this is the project they want to do, just exactly the way they planned it. And so the project manager gets in and starts talking about the project plan, and hopefully there's not too much technical detail, that there's enough big picture for the conceptualizers. But during the course of the presentation, and as questions are asked, particularly the two that are always asked, how can we do it faster? How can we do it cheaper? And the project manager may not use these exact words, but the message is clear. There's no other way to do this project. There's no other options. You have to do it pretty much the way we've planned it. That's the best way. That's going to give you the best solution. And of course, that's like throwing blood in the water for the executive sharks. And then what they do, and this happens over and over and over again every day, is the executives say, well, I want to finish a month early, and I want to cut $15,000 off on the budget. And they basically say to the project manager, who has no answer for any of this, well, use your leadership skills to make all this happen. And the project manager walks out of this meeting with a project that is not possible. The combination of scope, duration, and budget are not feasible. And so the project manager, and shortly thereafter the whole project team, realizes they're going to fail, and that just makes that's just the icing on the cake. Once the team says, "Oh, we can't do this," well, that makes that prophecy certain to come true. So that's the typical project plan presentation, and it's a disaster for everybody. Let's talk about the best way to do it. All right, now let's talk about the right way to give your project plan presentation. Of course, this says you got to have done your planning right too. But you go in and you give the overview of the project, and that is 4 hard-edged metrics. The scope is defined as a measured business result, like less than 10% of our customers call back a second time about the same customer service problem. That's a hard-edged measured outcome. We're going to know for certain whether we've achieved that or not, aren't we? And we have a budget of $25,000, and we have a duration of 9 months. We, at the very least, want to have those 3 quantified. If you're taking some of our advanced courses, you'll also quantify the risk. So you'll say we have this scope in this duration and this budget, and we have this probability, 65% probability of delivering those 3 to you. What is nice about having the metrics is that they are all incrementable. We can talk about a higher or lower scope. We can talk about longer or shorter duration. So those are the four metrics or three metrics that the project manager presents. And then the project manager also has what we call principal trade-offs. And that is, here's the project doing it in 25% less time. And the scope may be lower, the budget may be a little higher, but we're getting it done faster. And then there's another version of the project where here's doing the project for 20% less cost. And that may take longer. And we also may have to lower the metric that is our scope. But these are trade-offs that the project manager has prepared before going into the meeting. And so when somebody says, how can we finish faster? The project manager has an answer. And he presents this scaled down, changed project. And the executives are probably all going to say, well,
a big part of a project manager's success is based on communicating in meetings with individuals or small groups and in making presentations. Our individual instruction courses give you practice in these areas in live online sessions. Your instructor will play the role of the person with whom you're working. The sessions are a lot of fun and our students and instructors enjoy them. You'll get live practice thinking on your feet and answering the questions that PMs have to answer. It's just the two of you working privately. And if you get off track, your instructor will call timeout, give you feedback and coaching, and then back up the meeting so you can try again. Please consider one of our courses.